good to go.
Okay, I'll call the Wellington Board of Education meeting to order on Tuesday, May 11th, 2021. The next order of business will be the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everyone would stand, we will have the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. The next item is a CABE Leadership Awards. Phil, do you have some information on that?
Yes, I do. And we have the two visitors are here. I'm not sure if they're planning on popping on or not. And I'm going to unmute our middle school principal, Mary Kay Deshawnus, who's here. Oh, there's one of our participants. Beautiful. Hi, Kai. And Mary Kay, can you unmute?
Yep.
Perfect. All right. I'll pass it to Mary Kay for this.
Are both of the students here, Phil, or just
I do see Chris Bernard.
Okay.
She's on. I don't see her on camera, but she's here.
Okay. So I am incredibly pleased to present to you two of our outstanding Hall Memorial School student leaders. Every year, actually most recently, CABE has added middle school students to their leadership certificate program. They had, prior to this, only recognized high school students, but seeing that we are building leaders at the middle school level, they opened the leadership opportunities up for our students. So back in the wintertime, teachers were asked, the 8th grade teaching team was asked to nominate 2 students who they felt exemplified the qualities that they put forth in their leadership certificate award. And these are things that the students were asked, teachers were asked to look at. Willingness to take on challenges, capability to make very difficult decisions, ability to work very well with others and listen to the ideas of others while still sharing their own, commitment to tasks, diplomacy, ability to understand issues clearly, and to have deep concern for other people. The first nominee and award winner for today is Kai Talley. And Kai is a student leader who exemplifies strong academic work and respect in his school community. He is a high honor student who also participates in many sports when we had sports, including soccer and basketball. He is also involved in musical activities, dedicating time to both chorus, when we have chorus, and band. He shows his peers respect and works to create a positive experience for all, as demonstrated by his contributions to the Student Council. Kai has also won school citizenship recognitions and the Awesome Author Award. He is an amazing community member and models exemplary ethics and admirable character. So congratulations, Kai, on being awarded this amazing certificate. You will receive a certificate at graduation, but I have a letter that I believe I have at school to give to you as well.
Kai, did Principal Deshawnus tell you had to have a 5-minute speech prepared? I'm just kidding, Kai. Take a breath. It's okay. Congratulations, Kai.
Congratulations.
No, I would never do that to you. So congratulations, Kai. I'm very proud to have given you this award. The other student who has been given this award is Juliana Bernard. Juliana is a student leader who exemplifies kindness, compassion, and diligence in all of her work. She advocates on behalf of community members, seeking equality and positive change in the world around them. This is shown by her work with the GSA Club this year. She also wants to help her peers, as demonstrated by her participation in Student Council, helping to plan positive events throughout the school year. and her active assistance with preparing a writing center at HMS. Juliana trained as a tutor, and she will undoubtedly continue applying these amazing skills next year. Juliana also participates in ballet and completed extra art projects with Mrs. Caridi. Juliana is a high honor student who also won Awesome Author and School Citizenship recognitions. She is truly a wonderful community member and a strong role model. So congratulations to Juliana.
She's here, but she's not on camera, so congrats to her.
I'm so proud to have started my whole career with these fantastic student leaders leading the way. So thank you very much for gracing our school with your amazing talents.
Yes, I agree to that. And thanks for showing up. We will not be at all, taken back if you disappear into your evenings after this is over. So congratulations again, both of you.
Yeah.
And when you're high school seniors, you will be in person receiving many, many, many awards. So I can't wait to hear all about that when it comes to be. Thank you so much.
I agree.
Yeah, and
thank
the
you both.
board is very pleased and proud to have you receive these rewards. Congratulations. And Phil, you said they will receive them at graduation?
Yeah, so Mary Kay is going to provide them at their promotion ceremony, correct?
Wonderful. That's great.
We wanted to recognize them at the board meeting too. So
yeah, that's great. Yeah, next item on the agenda. Well, I'd like to add something to the agenda. Under the second present to speak, that'll be an appropriate place for it. It'll be 11B. The item will be executive session, superintendent evaluation.
Can I make a friendly amendment, Herb? Could we make it 12A to have it after board comment, so then we can just adjourn?
I thought of putting it there.
I was just thinking for the purposes of the person who's taking the minutes in the recording, it might just be easier.
She could leave, that's right.
Okay, we can do that. 12B.
Okay.
So I don't take minutes on that, right?
Correct. But then you don't have to stay and take minutes on the board comment afterwards.
Okay.
Okay, if it makes it easier. Okay, has everyone got that? Okay, under item 4 on our agenda, present to speak. Do we have anyone?
You have to vote on you have to vote on that, correct?
We have a motion on changing or entering the executive session after board comment as 12B.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Any discussion relative to the motion?
We need to state what purpose the executive session's for the minutes. I can't remember if that needs to be in the motion or not.
Well, it's for superintendent evaluation.
Okay.
Yeah, that was in the original motion. And
yeah,
okay.
I think you only need to do that once you go into executive session too.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
Hey Herb, can I ask that the board consider adding an item under new business as well? We wrapped up the WEA contract extension MOU. This is an additional MOU for, they had a request in, and if we could put that in after where superintendent end of year evaluation planning was, that would allow them not to have to schedule an additional meeting, and they would be able to, if you approve it tonight, that would allow them to vote at their May meeting to basically agree to that MOU.
You want that on a new business? A C?
Yeah, correct. If that works for the board, that would be great.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to that effect.
I move that we add 10C WEA memorandum of agreement to the agenda tonight.
Under new business as item C. Okay, I have a second.
I seconded.
Okay, I don't know who that was, but.
Diana Testa seconded, sorry.
Okay, all those in, any discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
I think Tracy had a question.
I'm just confused because it's on the bottom of my agenda already. So is that something different?
It is. One is WESS and one is WEA.
Okay, sorry, missing my letters. Sorry to interrupt.
It's okay.
No, it's quite all right. Okay, any other comments or questions? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Abstentions? The motion is passed.
Much.
Okay. And you, Phil, do we have any person to speak?
Let's see if there's anybody that is in the meeting that is not, because nobody's on camera. If there's anybody off camera right now, and I'm just going to say you should be able to raise your hand if you want to speak. Melissa, Jan, Bryn, Michelle. Looks like no at this point in time. You should be able to raise your hand again if you want to. If you're not on camera, then we can unmute you. Nope. Okay, you're good.
There is someone who just came into audio who wouldn't have heard that last piece.
Yep. Michelle, do you want to, if you were at public to speak, present to speak, if you want to speak, just raise your hand.
Or come off of mute. Can they do that?
They cannot do that. They just have to raise their hand.
If they don't have a video camera, though.
At the reaction, raise your hand.
Oh, right. On the bottom of the participants list, there's the raise your hand.
And I know that is a pro who's there, so.
Got it.
Yeah, okay. I think we're good, Herb.
So we're good to go?
We are.
Okay, we're down to the chairman's report. I just want to say that the CABE puts out a liaison newsletter. I don't know if everyone gets that or not. And they list items that they're doing during the course of the month. They have government relations, and they have a legislative wrap-up coming up in June 14th, about 12:15. And I think there's a fee associated with that. Also, we had some awards this evening, and on the newsletter, they've mentioned the fact they have a CABE Board Recognition Award. That's for boards of education. The deadline for these is May 14th, so time is running out. And they have the Bonnie B. Carney Award of Excellence for Educational Communication Awards. So CABE does make quite a few awards, and that's also, the deadline is May 14th for that as well. Also, CABE has developed a survey, which is the CABE REL Diversity and Equity Inclusion Survey for boards of education. And I guess it's just to determine the demographics of school board members in Connecticut so that they can deal with activities and services for the boards involved in that. The REL is the Regional Education Laboratory Northeast and Islands. I've never heard of it before, but they're involved. Also, they have programs, CABE has programs for special development, and this is on webinar series, so they are open to board members if you're interested in them. But the ones that for May have passed, though, they have, it was Leaders in Action, and it dealt with Names Matter, and it dealt with the terminology of words, which is changing in our society. And also one of their workshops dealt with learning gaps for all students as a result of the pandemic. So that, and also they had another one that was the executive director, Anna, I think her name is Anna Chavez, of the National School Boards Association. And there was a conversation between Cave and her, and it was on video, so on Zoom. And it was quite interesting. It's amazing. She's an amazing person, heading up the National School Boards Association. She's done about everything. Now she's the executive director, but she has a tremendous background in knowledge of multiple things, including education. So Kate puts out that, plus they had some other items on their newsletter as well, but I thought you might be interested in that. And I think they turn that out every month. Okay. Communications.
I do not have anything.
No, I don't think I have either. Okay, moving on to the superintendent's report.
All right, I'll try and cruise through some of this for you. So we had a staff appreciation week. Our administrative team held their staff appreciation week last week with support from Subway, Horace Mann, and our local PTA. The admin team organized special treats each day for our staff. They do something each day of the week to recognize all of our staff. Instead of recognizing one group at a time, kind of various whenever their quote unquote day is during the school year, they facilitate 5 days of celebration in honor of all of our staff. Obviously, you know, the school district doesn't run without everyone. Everyone has an important role, and just a big thanks to all of our staff for all that they've done for our students this year. Item B, the Region 19 referendum. They were the only item on the referendum, and the E.O. Smith budget did pass. It was approved, and I'm giggling because it was 274 to 59, and that's voters across all towns, not just Willington. And each town did support the budget, though. There were more yeses than nos in each of the towns that voted on that budget. So E.O. Smith has passed. Your Board of Education budget referendum. At this point, the town and school budgets will be voted on, and they're saying no later than June 30th, with the hopes of adoption earlier than that. The selectmen voted to approve the extension, which is allowed by the governor's executive order 10E. We will still have a town meeting and a referendum, but it will be later than normal because the selectmen's office is waiting on details, and they just got some yesterday regarding federal funding that could help decrease their budget. The Board of Ed on your side right now you've already offset your budget with ESSER 2. So there's really no adjustment that you would make at this time. The enrollment update, our current enrollment at Center School is 213 students, 213, with 198 students learning on campus. Woohoo! We only have 15 students at Center School that are learning remotely. We sent out a letter trying to recruit students back just to let them know that it's looking like remote learning is not going to be an option next year. And people are coming back, which is great. So that's about 7%. Only 7% are remote learning at Center School. Current enrollment at Hall is 192 students. We have 165 students that are on campus. We have 27 students that are learning fully remote. That's 14%. So we currently have 10% of our students learning fully remote right now. We're getting there. Students are coming back, and things have been going well. Regarding item E, the COVID-19 school operations, I'm going to say this and I shouldn't, but we have not had any positive cases within our schools since the last board meeting. We have had a couple close contacts. However, but those are significantly less disruptive to the educational process. We're going to continue to, implement our mitigation strategies. We will be reconvening our reopening committee from last summer to discuss the 21-22 school year. It's actually a requirement of the ESSER 3 grant, which I just got some details on this week. We are also sending out our climate surveys that goes to students, parents, and staff, all staff, and expect to get some feedback. We left an open-ended question on the end of each of the survey for the for the parents and for the staff. Just anything they wanted to comment on the 2021 school year, they can comment on. So we'll get some information from them. Our pupil service director applied for a summer programming grant. It's connected to the pandemic, and we learned she's going to receive $20,000 that will allow our students additional opportunities this summer. The grant was written so that we could send several of our students identified with special education needs to a local summer camp that has their specific needs in mind. So that's exciting for them. So congrats to our pupil services director. Our 2 circus tents, and I don't know what else to call them, but our circus tents are up on the school grounds. They're being utilized for mass breaks, for outdoor education. I think as it gets warmer, they'll be out more underneath them. Thanks again to our public works crew and our maintenance staff for putting up the tents. They will remain up through the end of the school year. They will come down for the summertime, and we can put them back up in the fall, depending on need. 2 of the major changes around the COVID-19 school operations update that are expected for next year include the elimination of remote learning almost entirely. The Connecticut State Department of Ed is emphasizing on-campus learning opportunities, kind of like we've been doing since the beginning of the school year. CSDE, they released a statement, and they're basically saying they don't anticipate the need to mandate due to the public health situation that we'll need remote learning next year. And it's so really, I anticipate that we will have our reopening document ready by the end of the school year, and we'll have a statement in there eliminating remote learning. The kind of window that's in that, though, is there will be kind of a caveat saying unless the BOE or the superintendent chooses to do so. And when we say that, we're talking about the potential for having a remote learning day on a snow day, if we so choose, or if a student is quarantined and we're telling them, either the health department or the school district is saying you're a close contact, that student would be able to remote in. But on a daily basis, a student calling to say your parents saying they're sick, or we're going on vacation, we want to remote in on Friday, not going to be. I'm going to make that recommendation that we do not do that, and that would be part of the reopening plan. I'll pause there for just a second. Any questions so far?
I have a quick question on the continuation of the remote learning.
Yes.
If we had a student that was going to be out for a period of time, whether it's due to a surgery or a more significant illness, maybe having absolutely nothing to do with who they were exposed to, but just their own personal health, can we allow the remote learning so that they don't get behind, assuming that they're mentally able to deal with it? It's not something that they're so ill that they couldn't participate even in that way.
Correct. There's a medical kind of piece to this that obviously if someone has a medical diagnosis saying they can't be there still because of COVID, that is something that would be allowed. And that's the flexibility that people are looking for, Donna, to allow a student that, they have, major surgery, they can't come to school, it's going to be 20 days of it. Those are the families where you have a medical documentation that we would allow it. It's just the day at a time, and that's the voluntary, the folks that are just choosing. So that is what will go away.
Thank you.
Elena has her hand up. Herb.
Elena?
How about snow days next year? Will we be allowed to use remote learning during those days?
So the board can decide that when we get to that point. My recommendation is, and again, I'm saying this, but I don't know what the legislation is going to be. They're still working on it. I also don't know what the State Department of Ed, if they'll allow it. My feeling is, I think we did it right this year, where we had some snow days just to go out and enjoy the snow. And, you know, if we could, you know, you start getting into 6 days of snow days and you're going to be in school till June, and you can have the opportunity to, on your next snow day, have a remote learning day, as long as internet access is good, that we would allow that. So that's going to be my recommendation to the board when we get to that point. But again, it's going to depend on what the State Department of Ed says, Elena.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, the next item, CES HMS roof replacement. I did a major jig in my office today, I will tell you. We learned our grant application was approved today, and we received our official confirmation project numbers from the state, which allows us to move forward with the process. Getting those numbers is a huge deal. I was pestering them because it's been a month, and the problem was is if we had to reapply, it was the first 10 days of May, and we hadn't heard. So we got our numbers today, which is great. I was told yesterday that that they were going to approve it, which is good because we've only had 3 hours to resubmit. I digress. Scott Pellman, our owner's rep, has been working with the architects. We had a meeting today on the roof drawings. They're finalizing the plans. I will tell you our environmental testing that was done by Eagle Environmental, they did find some asbestos in some of the roofing materials at Hall. It's not super significant, they said, but it's going to have to be addressed. And both buildings did have some lead-based paint. They will build that into the plan as they move forward. So the roofing project will take care of the remediation where it's necessary. So if it's not part of the roofing project, it wouldn't, and it doesn't need to be done, we're going to try and leave it alone. And they said that's okay. If we can build it in as part of the roofing project, we will. I will tell you that the Board of Ed, we're scheduling a meeting with the state coming up to, I think it's going to be over a Zoom. And that's going to be the next step in the process, that they do our final run through of our plans. The architect is supposed to have the plans to us Monday for local officials to approve. So I've already contacted our local officials. The Board of Ed is going to have to meet, just because you're the building committee, just to approve the final plans. And it's a requirement of the grant process. And what I'll tell you is right now, I'm looking at the date of May 24th or May 25th. I can't guarantee it until we get closer. We know we're going to have everything approved by local officials. But I would ask you to try and hold those dates. You only need a quorum. And I would say that would be the only item on the agenda. And it would be a very snappy meeting, because many of the items that are in here are just the requirements of the grant of the form, what I'm going to call 042, I believe it is. And it's all the architectural language that's in there. Okay. Questions about that?
Good. Donna?
What time do you want, so I can block out the time slots?
I'm open to that. If people want to shout out a time that I can ask them to hold. Do you want just like a 6 p.m.? Get it done and be done?
I'm sorry, what days was it again?
I'm looking at May 24 and May 25, and the reason why is we're hoping that we can get in with the state either the 26th, 27th, or 28th, and that keeps our process going.
Do you need us all for that meeting? Is that say that
you need a quorum? You just need a quorum, and basically what I'll do is I'll give you the exact motion that is required by the OSCGR, and you'll be able to approve the plans, and then off it will go.
So you said May 25th, 26th?
24 or 25, and I'm looking at 6 p.m.
I can do both days. Well, 25 is much better, actually.
I can do either.
Yeah, 25, we have practiced on Monday. My son has practiced.
Okay. So I will keep you posted as I get closer to that date. It would be a very fast meeting, but it's something that, because you're the building committee, you would have to do that as part of the roof project. Okay?
Okay.
Item G, the Office of School Construction Staff School Visit. The School Building Committee invited Costa Diamantis. He's the director of the Department of Administrative Services for the Office of School Construction Grants and Review to visit the schools. We learned Mansfield had done this. I think we had talked about this in the past, and they got some guidance and direction prior to their building projects. We made a formal request to OSCGR, and they accepted. I talked to Michelle Dixon. She's a member of their grant staff, and they requested for the front side of the visit all sorts of information, and it's basically just fact finding for them. They're going to walk the building, and they're not going to tell us anything really at the meeting, at the walkthrough. They're going to do it afterwards. So they requested background information on special ed data, enrollment data. They wanted to know about regionalization conversations. They wanted aerial maps with both schools, for both schools with acreage and lot lines. Some of the school specific data like square footage and grade range, the capacity, all sorts of things. And so we've already shared that with their office. He will be visiting during school hours. So there's only 3 people that are attending, and the committee understands that. That is the chairwoman of the committee, Catherine Viveros, the first select woman, and myself. All the information that was sent can be found. It's on we have a link on our webpage, our district webpage. And there's a list of questions that was prepared by the committee as well. We don't anticipate they're going to answer those questions that day. The idea is that those staff will take their information back to their office. They'll have a meeting, they'll go through the data, and then they'll basically meet with our school building committee after that, not that day, once they process the information. And you know, it's our hope that they're going to provide some recommendations based on their findings. It doesn't mean the SBC will have to follow them, but they're the grant people. What would they recommend based on what they see? So that is coming up. And then item H is the year-end activities. We're in the process of planning many of the year-end activities, including preschool screenings, kindergarten orientation, promotion ceremonies, and special events. We are doing the egg drop this year. 4th grade, they're going to visit Hall School. We're doing a band concert, following all the protocols that we've been doing for mitigation. They're all outside, or but it's meeting the CDC's requirements. I thought I'd share a couple dates with you just so you know. The 4th grade promotion ceremony is slated for June 15th. We are going to be outside for that, so we're not doing anything through Zoom. I wanted to let you know that they chose to do 3 separate cohorts. The classes will be separate, and they'll move through each of the 4th grade groups that day. And then we have an outdoor band concert on June 2nd. I do not have the time yet. And then the promotion ceremony for grade 8 is on June 18th with a rain date of June 21st. And they're still working out those details as well. But they will all be outside. They will be shorter ceremonies, but we're doing them in person. The grade 8 promotion will not be by cohort. We are going to bring them all together for their promotion ceremony. Questions about anything else in my superintendent's report, because I talked a lot.
As far as the graduation year-end activities, the State Department of Education is kind of open-ended on this. Now, they have some considerations for school events at that time, but apparently they're giving a lot of leeway to the local towns and so forth. But they do encourage, when you mentioned the use of the protocols like mask taking and
absolutely,
and all of that, because the epidemic is still around. I mean, we still have a contagious virus around, and we've been pretty lucky in town here. But we still have cases that are coming up.
And I'll be honest with you, Herb, I don't want to have to contact Trace a major event. So I'm kind of the thorn in the administrator's sides here, because I'm the one saying, how are you going to have walkways? How are you going to move people into the ceremony? How are you moving them out? What is the seating going to look like? Everybody has to wear masks. So that's part of my role. Sometimes they don't like my answer, but they have to follow the guidelines that are put forward for safety.
Well, it went off very nicely last year, and I'm sure it'll go off smoothly this year as well.
Elena has her hand up, Herb.
Elena?
I have a quick question about the graduation ceremony. It sounds so good, but I'm just wondering if you considered an option of having it outside somewhere so people would be more relaxed.
It will be. It will be outside for sure. So
then
that's why we have a rain date.
Okay. Oh, then maybe masks even will not be required if people, no, still?
It's still a requirement from the State Department of Ed.
Okay.
Yeah. Some places, I'll tell you, and I was on a call at 8 o'clock this morning with the Department of Public Health. They have a program where they're, if people want to do testing 24 hours beforehand, I don't think it's worth our effort because we're smaller. But there's a lot of thought that goes into these ceremonies for, obviously with a priority to put on a good ceremony for our families and our students because they deserve it. But, we can't lose the safety portion at this point. And that's, we have to follow those things.
Okay, are there any other questions on the superintendent's report? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to item 8, the financial report, May 2021 budget update. I believe we got a copy of that, didn't we?
Yes, this went out to you today, and sorry, this was late. We've been really rocking in the business office with contract negotiations and budget and grants. So Donna has been really super helpful in this, and I apologize this got to you late because she's been doing lots of stuff. I'll go through really. We tried to settle up some significant items in here. We had moved the funds back into the balance remaining for program 1 for the social worker. They're now encumbered because we hired a social worker. We've ordered some supplies. Program 2, again, minimal change. We've ordered some supplies. Remember that it looks like there is only 8,000 left in there, and Center School has more because we had a salary overage in the people we hired for the Spanish position and the 2 math positions we had. So there's a shortage there in that line. Program 3, the excess cost funds came in, and Donna has put the full amount in there. We actually got more excess costs than we thought. We got $135,000, so it's now been applied to that budget. And remember, excess cost is anything that is for a student that's identified with special education needs, that the cost for that student is 4.5 times more than our per pupil. Anything above that point is typically funded at about 70% of, we get 75% above that back. This year, I think they're funding 80%, I heard, which is the highest it's been. So that money is now in there. Program 4, remember that we had a half a bus that we didn't use this year because of COVID. There's minimal change there. We're waiting for a $12,000 diesel credit from Region 19. Minimal changes in health services. We reconciled the substitute line. Program 6, we are preparing for some a contract for professional development. I will tell you that we just got one again today. We are having a first aid and CPR certification come through, and we have a lot of staff that will be participating in that. That's actually being hosted by Alex Moore, from Fire Chief from Willington 1. So that's happening. Program 7, the utilities. You see an overage, and we were kind of expecting this, an overage on the heating oil. because we are operating our air handling units basically nonstop because of COVID for ventilation, it's bringing in more. It brought in more cold air over the winter time. I'm glad it's only $7,000 over. We can cover it with the transportation line, but I think that's about where it's going to land. I don't anticipate that's going to be an issue moving forward. Program 8 is. Sorry, go ahead.
On the heating oil. Well, on next year's budget, are we locked in at any price at all? So
yes, and
inflation or inflationary price there that will be. We
are locked in, and I don't want. I think it's $1.62, but I might be making that up, Herb. But we are locked in, and it's if I remember correctly, it is the lowest it's been in many, many, many years.
Yeah.
So we have a good rate for next year. I can get that information for you, though. And it's the same cost for diesel fuel and heating oil.
Yeah.
Program 8, we will be cleaning up next week our grants, our CRF grant, our ESSER-1 grant, and our ESSER-2 grants. We have $6,400 that's not applied to this line yet, so it'll come back. That line will bounce back. Same thing with Program 9. We have about $33,000 that's coming back from ESSER-2 funds that will be applied. That line will come, or that program will come out of the negative. And remember, that's also, we have the school choice deficit still. That's going to exist. And then Program 10, Donna will be reconciling. We've had some staff movements, paras, teachers moving in and out, taking benefits, some not taking benefits. That program will be reconciled for June, which is typical. We have some money left that we're still working on. We're still working on some programs, and I'll share some of those things as part of the committee reports tonight. Any questions about the budget summary?
On the ICER funds, do we have to use them this year, or can we carry them over?
So it depends on which one it is. They all have their own timelines. ESSER 3, which we'll talk about next, actually goes through 2024, I think it is. It does, 2024. And so ESSER 2, your ESSER 2 funds will be gone by the end of next year. That's where you have your offset for your utility staff, and there's other things that are in there.
Yeah.
But yes, there's timelines for each of the grants, and that's why Don and I are meeting. We're trying to wrap up all of our own audit trail for all the CRF funds that came in, the coronavirus relief funds that came in, and ESSER-1 and ESSER-2, so that, because we just got another big grant, that $577,000 for, which is the next item on the agenda. We have more details on it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You want me to move to that?
Yeah.
So yesterday was the big day that we learned about the funds. We had our first, we got an email on Sunday, and they rolled out a superintendent's only presentation yesterday for ESSER 3. The district is going to be receiving $577,000. Of that $577,000, $115,000 needs to be utilized for learning recovery. They identified that right as a requirement of the grant. We are going to have to do some work around this. We're going to have to provide a safe return to school plan. I smile because I think that's kind of ironic because we've been in school all year long. Not the case for everybody. So that's a big thing to remember. The plan is going to have to be reviewed every 6 months. It's going to have to be posted to our website. It's going to require public comment. And that's through September 30th, 2023. So we will have to do those things. The board will have that on their agenda every 6 months. The plan will be signed off. It'll be resubmitted. It'll be put back up on our website. Here's the interesting thing. The application is going to be available on May 14th. It's not due until August. We can apply early, which I will, but 2/3 of the funds will be available. So you're talking about approximately $400,000 will be available to the district on May 24th. So well before the grant is due or approved, the funds will be in to in our SGM program, which is where the grant funds are kept. The grant funds must be obligated, Michelle, this is a question you had, by September 30th, 2024.
The big discussion going on nationally is what is the meaning of the word obligated? It's a contract. Yes. It is not only Connecticut, but many places are having that discussion. So you will get further guidance once the lawyers have arm wrestled that off.
Correct. And I'll tell you that CSDE, when they did their presentation yesterday, they rolled out what they knew, because they're getting their information as they're drafting and creating and sharing as well. I will tell you, my administrative team has been receiving input from the staff throughout the year to identify district needs. You know, I've gotten feedback from union leadership. What do you need? It's the reason we bought the items we bought throughout the year, whether it's headsets with microphones, it's, you know, all of the materials, desk shields, whatever it is, it's coming from feedback about how we can maintain our schools safely and keep them open, keep our students safe, to keep our staff safe. Right now, I will tell you, we are in pretty good shape, especially after ESSER 2. Our number one priority, and this was shared as part of the curriculum committee and the finance committee, we'll talk about that more in a minute, is curriculum. I mean, we just need to get a good handle on that. I want to write the grant, the ESSER 3 grant, to hire a director of curriculum and instruction with a beginning and end date of 3 years. It would be a 3-year position, July 1 through, you know, this year through the end of the, whatever is it, 2024, I think it is. The idea here is that I shared this in the curriculum committee meeting and the finance committee meeting, because they've worked so hard to try and get curriculum approved, and it's just not working with $1,000 stipends and people having to do their other jobs. The grant can cover in benefits and admin salary, can cover the entire cost of the position. We're in a unique position to do this. It's the only way I would advocate for this, but it would not continue beyond the 23-24 school year. So it would be 21-22, 22-23, and 23-24. I have talked to WEA about this, the teachers union. I've talked to the administrators union about this. I do have an MOU already from the administrators union. They're in full support of this. And I already have a job description for you, and I'll bring both of these items to you at your June meeting. You don't necessarily have to approve the grant, but you do have to approve a new position. And I will tell you that, and I'm going to say this on my camera, it's recorded, this is a definite time frame position. There is no way this position is extended beyond 2020, that 23-24. You will not be able to afford it as a board, and this will have very specific timeline on it for approval process for curriculum. Again, you'll hear more from the curriculum committee in their report. Any questions about the ESSER 3 generic? Anne has her hand up, Herb.
Yeah.
Phil, what do you expect that to cost, or do you want to talk about that later?
So we put we figure out what the per diem salary is for the administrators. Per diem is basically, you know, how much they make per day. You divide the number of days they work, you know, into their salary to figure it out. If you're in the $520 range per day, which is the lower end, I'll tell you, of an administrator's salary, this is a position that I would try and maximize the number of days. So I believe when I wrote the job description, I wrote in 216 days, and it would be about, and don't quote me on this, I'll give you all these details next time. I think it's around $120,000 per year. And then it would be benefits on top of that. because you have to provide them. The principal's contracts are 200 days per year. And Marsha McGinley, who's the special ed director, is 208 because she has summer school. I will tell you, I put more days in for this position so that they do have some summertime off, but I also think it's critical for them to be able to meet with teachers. And I would build some of that, the financial portion into this grant so that we could pay teachers to come in and do summer work with this person. Probably not summer one. Our teachers need a break. This person would need to get going. But summer two, it would definitely be built in so we could pay staff members to come and work with the curriculum director, whether it's writing, training, whatever the need is.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We put a range, a salary range, into the MOU because it would be part of the admin contract.
Okay, any other comments or questions on that? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 9, which is the committee reports, negotiating committee, curriculum, and the finance committee.
So seeing that you added the WEA contract extension MOU, I think you can probably just say that the negotiations committee, they met a couple times and they reviewed the contract extension request from WEA. And obviously those meetings are not posted because it's a negotiation and that committee met. Anybody else want to add anything to it, or do you just want to wait until you get to the MOU?
That's good.
Do we have minutes of that meeting?
There are no minutes taken when you do a negotiation.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's not posted.
Well, you have an agenda. Do you have an agenda for that?
It's not a posted agenda. I go in with an agenda to share with them, but it's not a public meeting, so it's not a posted agenda.
Herb, I think you'll see the results in the agreement of what was discussed in.
Mm-hmm. Okay, are we ready for the curriculum committee? Anything on that?
Curriculum committee, you folks should speak up on this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've met several times this year with Kristen Stevens and Erica Boucher, who are the language arts and the math coaches, consultants, even though Erica is teaching full-time in addition to that. And the first time we met, we asked them for a sample of what the curriculum would look like. The second time they came back and showed us an example of basically one unit at one grade level, which was so comprehensive. It was wonderful. But that is one snapshot of one lesson in one class. So at that point, we realized just how overwhelming this task was, especially with 2 people who are charged with coaching teachers. And I think the last time we met, Kristen was busy setting up all the SBAC testing. So they have several responsibilities, and it just became pretty obvious that there wasn't a lot of time for them to sit at a computer and write curriculum. So at that point, Phil started to think outside the box and came back to us with the proposal that we just discussed. And Laura and Tracy, I don't know if you agree, but I thought that was a perfect solution where, you know, there would be someone else that could do the writing and get it all down on paper or get it down virtually. I think a lot of what they're working on is going on in the classrooms. I think it's just a matter of getting it down on paper or on, you know, the website or wherever it needs to live.
Thank you, Anne.
Yeah, just to add on to what Anne was saying. So we also talked about kind of the idea of sharing somebody with Ashford and realized that that would probably not be a very feasible thing, that it's an amount of work for Willington, needs to be tailored to our district. So, you know, we discussed that a bit and thought that probably would not be something that would work very well. And then the other maybe concern was, well, once you have someone, you know, how long will that person be needed or be in the district? And so the idea is that in 3 years, you can get the curriculum, get it in place, and then we would set up a rotating, you know, annual review of the curriculum. So, you know, curriculum is a living document. It's constantly changing and updating to be responsive to the students. But if we can get somebody to do the heavy lifting at the beginning and get it in place, then the folks that we have there would be able to keep up with it going forward. So as Phil emphasized a couple of times, right? This is just a 3-year position. It's the heavy lifting, get it all in place, and then you know, our staff, Kristen and is it Erica, would be able to, you know, facilitate the process of an annual review and updating of the curriculum going forward.
Yeah, and I want to reiterate that this director of curriculum instruction would be for all content areas. We've been trying to focus on just ELA and math, but look, we need to update PE curriculum. We need to update music curriculum. We need to update science curriculum. This person would have a schedule for everything, and that would be the expectation that in 3 years you are in a good spot. And some of this curriculum has already been written, and it's, you know, it's in the hands of a PE teacher and needs to come to the board level and approved and posted on our website. This person would be responsible for all of those.
Okay. Anything else on the curriculum committee?
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Because I'm not an educator. So are you telling me that every teacher for every grade, for every class, is responsible for writing their own curriculum? This is not something that is, I've taught classes, but there was always a curriculum that was purchased, and then I implemented what was to be taught, and I adjusted it and tweaked it as I needed to for my class. But I wasn't creating it from scratch. So I'm not really sure where our curriculum sits.
That's a great question. So when you just said you tweaked it and you adjusted it to meet the needs of your students, that's what, when the initial curriculum, when we went Common Core here years ago, the curriculum that was approved was very generic to just state a standard, some of the learning outcomes. It's very generic. And we have since purchased programs. So we use Readers and Writers Workshop. Well, we know Readers and Writers Workshop does have some holes in it. So we need a phonics program to go along with that. It needs to, basically the curriculum that needs to be put into place is, and what Ann said, you know, I mean, the teachers have pulled in certain things, and that needs to be written, and their input into this process is really important. But what the final document needs to look like is that you can see the scope and sequence of skills, and a new teacher can walk in the door here and pick it up and go. And it might have extension activities in it. It might have remediation activities in it. And that's why Laura says living, breathing document. Just like you said, Donna, you would make your own, you know, and I'll say professional decisions. That's what teachers are doing. So they have they're using the manuals that are for Readers and Writers Workshop. But if every kid in your class has already mastered a skill they're asking you to do, you wouldn't follow it. You would either extend it or you would move at a faster pace. And sometimes you need to slow down. So that's what needs to be put into that document. And listen, there's a huge assessment piece to this as well. And we've talked about that being a gap right now that we need to fill. So hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving on to the Finance Committee, which met on April 13th, I believe.
So this committee was this agenda was the CHC contract. We talked about the ESSER 2 grant, the ESSER 3 grants, and some of the year-end spending. That some of the bigger projects, and what I said to Michelle, who's on the committee, was he always asks at budget time for, you know, what are some of the things you wish you could do, and there are things that are hard to add into the budget. Those are some of the things that we're looking at for year-end spending. So I don't know if anybody wants to chime in on that finance committee meeting.
We discussed the contract with the health-based services and made a couple of edits. And we saw the final copy of that this week. So we were all happy with where it ended up, I believe.
Yep, and that's been submitted to them, and we'll see if what they come back with at this point in time.
So that's a document in process. We haven't completed it yet. There are still some areas that we could look at again. Okay. New business. Approve the regular meeting minutes of April 13th.
I move we approve the minutes from April 18th, 2020.
Thank you, Michelle.
Did you say 13 or 18?
18, 2021.
I think it's 13.
It's 13?
13.
April 13, 2021.
Yes.
I second it, Elena Testa.
Moved in second. Any comments or addition, deletions? Ann?
I'm not sure, but on page 6, Phil, what is the name of the new social worker? Is it Mason or Nason?
On page 6. Is it page 6 of the minutes? It's Nason.
Yes. And with N, Nason?
N.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
You have a motion and a second on the floor.
Who's a second?
Elena seconded it.
Elena?
I seconded the motion, Elena Testa.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Abstentions? The motion is passed. We now move to the West Memorandum of Agreement.
So Tracy asked in the beginning, is there a difference between memorandum of agreements and a memorandum of understanding? Not really. It just happens to be what one uses.
Should be understand.
Yes. So this one is an agreement. I worked with Nicole Page, who's the union president for WES. We drafted a simple MOA to extend the utility staff position. This didn't need to come back to the negotiations committee because it's basically the same exact thing that you did last time. We just changed the date on it so that it encompasses the 21-22 school year. The funds for these positions are in your budget, and they're entirely offset by the ESSER 2 grant. So again, the utility staff have been critical. They're allowed us to stay open. They do the catch-all. They do anything we need: sub, clean, coverage, whatever it is, duties. They've been extremely helpful. We have 3 positions that we have, and this extension would keep the positions in the WESS union through the end of next school year. And that's what this MOA basically says. It's the same exact MOA that you had last time. It just now says expire on June 30th, 2022.
Okay, this is an action item.
I move, Tracy Anderson, I move we accept the memorandum of agreement between the I'm sorry.
You can say the CSEA, yeah.
The SEA, and the Wellington Board of Education.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's moved and seconded by Ann. Okay, any comments, questions? Hearing none, we'll move to the motion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Abstentions? None. The motion is passed. Okay, moving on to item under new business C. WPA MOU, Memorandum of Understanding.
Correct. So we received a letter from the WEA leadership asking for a contract extension. It was a very nice letter, very complimentary of the support from the board. Just trying to look for some normalcy, not having to go through negotiations next year, not knowing what's going to change again with COVID, hopefully nothing. And so they basically requested a 2-year extension. And so the negotiations committee met. The negotiations committee included Matt Clark from the Board of Finance. They reviewed the request from the teachers union to extend the contract. I basically shared all the data with them about what the settlements were, you know, what the increase looked like. And in the end, their request was to extend the contract for 2 years. But after reviewing the data, the committee offered to extend the contract for 3 years with the same contract language and a 2.75 total cost increase each year. All the committee members and the union leadership felt this is a fair offer. That means you don't have to spend the time on attorneys and going through full negotiations next year. The MOU needs to be approved by the board, obviously, and then this would be taken back to the WEA team, and they would then approve it. We know that they have support already. They've asked their members, and you know, I just have to say, I met with Sean Conlon and Bryn Lipstrew, and Bryn's been really integral to getting this to this point and sharing data. And you know, this is about transparency. I always say that. This is about transparency. And even though we don't record those meetings because it's a negotiation meeting, I think it's really important to be transparent to the public. And, you know, that they've worked with us and we have worked with them. And we have a good work relationship. And it's another reason why we've been open this year, because our teachers are strong and they work with us and they know that we're going to support them when it comes time to support them. So you need a motion for this as well.
Yeah, it's an action item. Ann.
I would like to make an motion that we approve the WEA Memorandum of Understanding. Is it, Phil, would it be for shall we state the years?
Yeah.
Sure. Yep.
No.
July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2025.
Thank you.
I second the motion.
Okay, Michelle seconded. Any comments, suggestions?
I have a question.
Donna?
That wasn't in my board packet, so I have not read the document. When did it come out?
Correct. So this was just sent today, and I was waiting on one member of the team to just approve this, and all of the 4 members, and I don't want to speak for the negotiations committee that's in this panel. You can speak up yourselves, but they all supported it. And Donna, I'm glad to explain the details of it in the discussion. If you want to know what the details are as far as the extension. Typically, you would follow the lead of the folks that are on that committee. And that I think is Herb, Elena, and Ann, correct? And that was Matt Clark was on there as well. Yeah. And you all can speak. I mean, I think you all supported this. The reason why I didn't have it on before is on the agenda is I didn't think we were going to have the information in time. And we did. We got it all done. And so that's why I wanted to present it tonight. It's up to you if you move or not on it tonight. I would ask you to, simply because the WEA group does have their monthly meeting in May. I don't think they have a June meeting. And if you approve it, which is, again, following what that committee recommended, that would allow them to approve at their monthly meeting in May.
Donna, we agreed to give them a 2.75% increase for each of the next 3 years. And they decided how they wanted that money dispersed, whether it was on steps or whether it was at the top. So that was figured out and agreed upon. Phil, did you want to address, was there?
Yeah, and I can speak to, I mean, as far as the step movements, I mean, again, we worked, they're reasonable. They gave us a reasonable proposal. Mm-hmm. So year one, basically everybody on the pay scale is on a step in their union, and everybody will move up a step. If you are at the top step, you can't move a step. So step movement tends to be expensive. It eats up the majority of your cost of the agreement of that 2.75. The remaining money then is then applied to give the people at the top step a raise. And I will tell you, it is a small raise when it comes down to what's left over. Year two, there was no step movement in this, and every salary on the grid goes up 2.75%. And then year three is the same as basically year one. There's step movement again, and there's the remainder goes to the top. I will tell you that we had settlement data of what's out there. There is plenty of settlements that are above this, and there are settlements that are below it. And when I shared that with the negotiations committee, so that they knew that what the teachers union was requesting was extremely reasonable. And the last thing that's on there, the one thing that we wanted to make sure of, and again, I had this conversation with the union leadership, was we've talked about the potential of moving to the state insurance plan in the future. It's not a guarantee. They already have language in their contract around it, but we just wanted to make sure it was clear that if we ever did move to the state insurance plan, it would be moving away from a high deductible healthcare plan. And it does drastically change the healthcare plan in their contract. That would be something that we would open negotiations for. And that's basically what item 2 in this says, in this MOU.
The other thing I'd like to say is the teachers
language is concerned in the contract, Phil, I think it's remaining the same, isn't it?
Correct.
No change. It's just on the salaries and extension.
Correct. And again, we have a reasonable contract. If there were items in the contract, numerous items that I was concerned about language, we were getting hung up on, I would make the recommendation to the board not to follow this, because you would want to correct the contract language. That's not the case. You have a good contract in place. And so this makes sense.
So when it comes to the prior conversation about the curriculum and the potential curriculum person needing to meet with the teachers, obviously not while they're teaching, because you can't be 2 places at once. Does this allow for that, or is that going to cause problems?
So they have 20 hours extra above that are for staff meeting times within their contract already. That could be used for staff meeting, and it could be used for professional development. And we're trying to get away from sitting in front of people and having conversations that could be done through an email. So we could use that time for professional development, but we're also looking at, can we bring in subs for a certain number of days throughout the year at various points to get teacher feedback. We've done 2 hours, 3 hours, and they just rotate through different people. So yes, this contract does allow that. And again, that's where the additional funding for the summer would be needed for summer work, because that doesn't, a teacher's salary is only 188 days. That's what they're contracted for. Any summer work is additional cost, and that's already built into their contract of what the rate would be.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ann?
The other thing is that negotiations are pretty intensive. Usually we meet throughout the summer for, every other week. And so it's a lot for the teachers too. So I really appreciate the fact that we were able to settle this now so that now we don't have that whole process to look forward to. And they can, we have reason to be so thankful for everything they've put into this school year. I think this is one way we could say thank you for that, is not,
A very good point.
taking their summertime.
Yeah. The negotiation team appreciates that, right?
Well, yeah.
Well, Matt Clark said, is this typical? And it's not. And that's why this is, transparency. I mean, listen, we've been working with their leadership team. And when you build that relationship and it's open and it's honest, this is the type of thing that happens is you have a deal that is fair for both sides. We're saving more dollars. You go to arbitration, you go to mediation, you're spending thousands and thousands of dollars. And it's, when you don't need to, you can work with people. So.
Okay. Now, did we vote on that yet?
Yeah, you did not vote on it. Who did the second? You had a second, though?
We had a motion.
Elaine?
A second. Discussion. I think we're ready for a vote on item new business CWEA MOU. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Abstentions? Okay, the motion is passed. Moving on, person to speak.
So nobody's on camera, but if there's anyone in the audience that wants to raise their hand or hop on camera for a minute so we can see you, we can unmute you. We're present to speak. No hands, Herb.
Okay. We're we're down to board comments. The only comment I have is that again, want to say that board is proud of the students who received the CABE awards for their achievements. It's a very nice award, and we appreciate the fact that they have received them. Okay. Tracy?
Yes, congratulations to those students, and I'm appreciative of the negotiations for these two for the WEA contract coming through, and that we can all get along and get it done quickly, save everybody's summer. And I am grateful for the fact that our students are going to be able to have regular end of year activities that so many missed out on last year. So I'm grateful that we are to a point that we can do that.
Very good. Thank you. Ann?
I would just like to say thank you to Phil and the administration and the teachers and the staff for allowing us to come back to school on day one this year. I keep seeing Channel 1 Spectrum, and Massachusetts is still trying to get their kids back to school. So we should be so proud, and that we've been able, thanks to you all, that we've been able to accomplish that this year. And my two grandkids have not missed a beat. This has been a regular school year. So thank you all for everything you've done. I know it's been very hard work, so thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ann. Laura?
Also want to congratulate the two students. I think it was Kai and Juliana on the K Leadership Award. I'm just going to reiterate what even if I'm not at the end. But yes, I'm also just so, so thankful that our little district has been able to outperform in having our kids in-person school through this whole year. It's been truly an amazing thing. And looking forward to the fall where things get even more back to normal. As Tracy said, I am so excited about end of year activities that will be in a much more normal way. And I'm taking it, since they're outside, that we're invited.
I will send you invitations. Yes.
Great. I'm so looking forward to it.
Thank you, Laura. Michelle?
So I would also like to say everything that's been said before me, but also a special thanks to all of you on the board, because this is a volunteer position and we've spent a lot of time this year on Zoom meetings. And it's been a challenge, I think, compared to being face-to-face, but I'm happy to see that we've gotten so much done and supported our families and our children this year to make that happen, to help them be safe. And here's looking to the time ahead when we can all be together for a board meeting in the same room indoors. So it may not be too long. We'll have to see what that looks forward.
Yeah.
There will be some direction from the state, at which point we are no longer allowed to do this by Zoom. So, or exclusively by Zoom. We may be able to broadcast, but we may not be meeting. So that will be someday in the future. And I'm feeling optimistic that we'll be ready when the time comes. Thanks.
Okay, Michelle, thank you. Elena?
Well, I actually like Zoom meetings. I'm sorry, it's such a time saving. I would keep them. I love to see the school working. I think that's such a great accomplishment. I totally agree with everyone, and with Laura and with Anne and Deb, with everyone. So I really would like to thank everyone who put any impact, who put anything into this process to keep the school running during this hard moment. I think it's a great achievement by our district. So cannot underestimate it. It's wonderful. And but I do hope that we'll have Zoom meetings longer, but that's okay. And I also would like to verbalize my hopes that next school year is going to be a wonderful year. And whatever kids and adults and teachers could not accomplish due to COVID during the last year, it will be double accomplished in the new year. That's my true hope. That's it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Elena. Donna?
I don't know if there's too much more I can add to what already's been said, but I would like to say a special thank you to the unknown center school student who traced their hand, and it is now on my refrigerator. That was the best part of the little thank you gift. So I just wanted to thank the students for taking the time to share those. And it's been a long time since I've had little refrigerator art, so my refrigerator art is back.
So what Donna's referring to is, for board appreciation, we got you some hand sanitizer, and the kids, we had a class that they traced their hands and they tied them to. They have to be delivered to you. Sorry. So Donna got hers already. So.
Oh, that's cute.
I didn't want to spoil the surprise. I'm sorry.
No, it's not a surprise. It wasn't a surprise.
No surprise now.
But it was very sweet, and I appreciate it.
I will pass it along.
Thank you, everyone, for those comments. We are now down to our new item, the executive session. And
Herb, do you want to take like a 2-minute timeout? I can move because you're going into executive session. I will move everyone else out of the meeting, and then I will get out of Dodge because you don't want me there either.
Okay.
And then I made Michelle a co-host so that the recording, Michelle has to stop once you announce your executive session, and then it won't be record while you're in executive session. Michelle, I'm going to ask you to lock the meeting while you're in executive session. And then when you come out, you will click record again, and you can just adjourn. Does that work for you, Herb?
Sure does.
And Michelle, it's cloud recording, so you don't have to do anything.
Okay, so I don't have to pause the recording and restart it for the time we clock out. I can just stop the recording.
It's the same button, I think.
Okay.
No, you can click pause. Just pause it after you say executive session. So, yep, people are already leaving. Thank you very much. They're going to go into executive session. So, I'm going to.
And just a question where I lock everyone out of the meeting.
You can lock the
under
meeting
security
by.
Yes, it's under security. There it is.
Security lock meeting.
Okay.
Right. And I think so. Catherine, you should be all set now.
Okay, when they adjourn the meeting, can someone just say adjourn at such and such time? So when I go back, I can see what time it was.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, Catherine, I'll send you an email with the time to adjourn.
Okay, thank you.
It won't be on the recording. Okay, thank you.
And I'm just making an assumption here that you don't want me there.
No.
So,
Next time.
okay. Thank you all. Have a wonderful night.
Thanks, Phil. Good night.
Good night.